I don't know about you, but I cannot believe it's almost a new year and it is time to start with New Year's a whole year full of new celebrations.
And that's why this month, Catherine Pooler Designs has come out with a bundle called Good Times.
I think you're going to love the stamps, dies, pattern paper, and sequins, and how many versatile themes for cards you can create with this bundle. Of course, it wouldn't be a Catherine Pooler Designs video if we didn't talk about the inks and some fun new color combinations for celebrations. So let's dive right into the card making and check out this bundle to see how much fun it is to create cards to celebrate all year long.
The Good Times bundle includes the Cracking Good stamp set and dies. The dies cut out all of those shapes. The So Very Elated sentiments and elated word die. There's lots of great sub-sentiments, and the elated word die has a nice shadow to cut out as well. The Snap Crackle Pop 6x6 pattern paper. Lots of fun designs, some very versatile ones, and really could be used to celebrate anything. And the Mykonos sequin mix with a nice mix of large, medium, and small sequins. We're going to start with the Cracking Good stamp set and dies. You can see the dies cut out the whole cracker, and the cracker is made up of at least 2 stamps. So I'm going to die cut all the things that I want to stamp, and then I'm going to use that negative piece to hold my die cuts in place so that I can build up the cracker. So I'm going to start with the end of the cracker and place it inside the opening that I've already die cut. And once I have those lined up with even edges all around them, I'm going to pick them up with my mini MISTI. Then I can place the die cuts into those open spaces and I can start stamping. So for this card, I decided to come up with my own color combination. Sometimes I use the color wheel, and I will link below to a video where I talk about the Catherine Pooler color wheel and kind of how to use it. But for this color combination, I just went with my gut. So I'm starting with the color Something Borrowed, which is a really nice, vibrant medium blue, and I love it so much. So I'm going to flip around the cracker. It is pretty much symmetrical. It may seem a little bit off. It's okay. It will totally stamp fine if you flip it around like that. And then I can line up that centerpiece once I have both ends stamped, because you can see you want that centerpiece in between those 2 ends. So the second color that I'm working with here is Samba, and I haven't really used this color before. It is a new ink pad for me, and it is phenomenal. I don't know of anything else out there that looks quite like this bright orangey sort of reddish color, and it actually works really well with the Something Borrowed. Now, you could use those crackers if you used a more traditional red. You could use them for 4th of July. I am making a New Year's Eve card, so I have Make It Happy from the stamp set and Celebrate on my stamped card, and now I'm using the Catherine Pooler acrylic block with some of the small stamps from the stamp set. They always include lots of little detail stamps or smaller stamps in their stamp set to create patterns, backgrounds, or decorate your crackers. I popped mine up and just left it at that, but I love this color combination, and especially with the cummerbund, it really is a nice tri-color combination. One of my favorite things to do with Catherine Pooler inks is to make your own cardstock in a matching color. I'm using Dress Blues, and all you have to do is swipe it along the cardstock. And I would definitely heat set this a little bit if you want to use it. I am going to stamp one more cracker here. So I'm starting on the left-hand side, and I'm going to use the Dress Blues for the ends, just like that background I created. Now for the center, I did stamp Tranquil, but I think I had a little pink on there. That's okay. I was going for Tranquil because the pattern paper I'm going to use has Tranquil in it. I did just put that cracker on there to set up my stamps. I'm going to heat emboss them. And since that's all ink, use plenty of anti-static powder tool, but you can see it really stamped beautifully on top of that inked background. Now I'm just going to pour a little gold embossing powder on top and watch the magic of the heat tool heat setting that gold. It looks phenomenal on the dress blues background. I'm going to add a little tape runner to this, and I actually put several extra lines of tape runner so that if that piece was a little warped, it's going to flatten out on the pattern paper background. That pattern paper is from the bundle, and you could see that that light blue background really matches the Tranquil nicely, but the little bit of pink I added is okay too. The boom is a stamp from the stamp set, fits perfectly inside that cracker, and I'm going to pop that up and add some of the Mykonos sequin mix to those little gold confettis that I stamped and heat embossed, just for a little extra added sparkle, shine, and dimension. So easy to create this card, and I love my own custom color cardstock with the dress blues. You don't just have to use this stamp set for New Year's Eve cards though. And in fact, nothing on the stamp set says New Year's Eve. So you can actually use it for any kind of celebration you want. This time, I'm also going to stamp one of the stars. I'm using limoncello for that star. It's a nice bright yellow. I'm also going to stamp the snowflake that is on that stamp set. Like I mentioned, they have lots of little added stamps and designs to either customize the crackers, the center of them, or to just use on your card. So I'm using a piece of the pattern paper. It's a small enough piece. It's got red and white dots. The pattern paper tells you what inks it really combines with, but I didn't have the cranberry. So I went for Rockin' Red. And once you put all these other pieces onto this card, you won't really notice that it's not a perfect match. And especially since we're not using a huge piece of that pattern paper, it really is fine. So I set up my sentiment, which is going to say celebrate, and I used the edge crackers that don't actually have the middle connected to them. And I put one in one color on top and one in one color on the bottom. So they're kind of like cracked open and they have the celebrate sentiment in the middle. I have some of those snowflakes die cut. I love that the dies come in all those little just different images. And then I'm going to add the same sequin from the mix. You can pick out the ones you want if you want to. And I'm going to put those on the snowflakes. And I'm going to use that small acrylic block once again to stamp some of those tiny little stars from the stamp set in the same color as the large stars that I die cut. So you don't have to die cut everything, but I love having the option of popping things up on the card, and that's what the dies allows you to do. Now let's work with the Elated stamp set and word die with the shadow. I wanted to share that this bundle is really great for creating celebratory cards from New Year's and beyond, all the way through all the celebrations that you have this year. Now, this Elated is absolutely beautiful script, and it fits perfectly on the shadow, a little bit of liquid glue behind it, and you'll be able to slide it right into place. I'm using one of those top-heavy designs with the pattern paper, finishing up about 2/3 of the card on top, and then stamping and using the die cut at the bottom on the white background. I love creating cards like this. It's something just a little bit different. It gives you the chance of a nice white space at the bottom, and then you can use something nice and busy at the top, like those celebratory confettis. So again, this could be anything that you're happy about for someone else. And whether it's a new baby or an engagement or anything else. Okay, I'm going to use another small piece of pattern paper. When I have a technique that I use in a card session, I really use it more than once. When I find something I like when I'm sitting down to make cards, I use it again and again. And that's why that little strip of pattern paper to the side is making me really happy in this card making session. This time I wanted to use the Elated stamps to show you it's a totally different look. Love that block lettering, and then you can use a different sub-sentiment, Elated to hear the news. And I'm going to use that Tranquil this time to stamp all those stars around the Elated. Again, that Tranquil matches perfectly to the light blue in the pattern paper. And the ink that I used is not the ink that exactly matches, but is just one step lighter. Again, I didn't have the 16 candles that matches the pattern paper, but I did have pink champagne, and that's pretty close. So I'm swiping that just half the cardstock because I just want to cut out the Elated shadow with that color. And then I cut out the Elated word die in white. This time I'm going to make a small white piece of cardstock. It's definitely smaller than 4 by 5 1/4. It's kind of the next 1/4 inch down. And I laid that on top of some of the pattern paper so you can see the plaid in the background. If it was 4 by 5 1/4, you wouldn't be able to see that it was even plaid. And now I'm using the Elated just to lay out my stamps. I'm going to start with one of the first sentiments that says, "What an achievement." And I'm using some silver sparkle embossing powder. If you really want this to stand out a lot more, I would recommend gold. I always forget how silver kind of gets washed out on white, but I really do like the look of it. So in person, you can definitely read it, but on camera or in the photo, it's a little washed out. There are these tiny little heart stamps. Remember how I mentioned tiny stamps in the stamp sets of Catherine Pooler Designs? These tiny little hearts are awesome for creating just a little confetti around the Elated in a heart form. I love that they're so small and so easy to stamp. You can just use an acrylic block. And here's a totally different type of celebratory card.
I'd love to hear below what celebrations you are excited about for this new year and how you would use supplies from this bundle to create cards to celebrate them. If you like thinking about different types of color combinations, check out this video next. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Okay. Oh, I don't want to turn it off. I'm like, okay, we're done. We're not done. We just started, really.